All right. Well, we are live and was trying to get going on playing our intro, but for whatever reason, it did not play. But that's all right. We'll call that a technical difficulty and just keep on rolling. Uh, Good afternoon, Grumps. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Well, for those of you who have never been here before, I am Grumps, also Brian, and this is
Wait a minute. You said that wrong.
who am I?
You said I am Grumps and known as Brian. You need to change your name down at the bottom.
Uh, I am Big Daddy, and that is Grumps. I am known as Brian to the rest of the world, and this is Larry, and he is known as Grumps to his grandchildren. So slow down here and pull ourselves together, and let's do a quick flyby for those of you who may not know who we are, and that would be Grumps, Larry. He is a 50-year automobile industry tech. He has been a shop owner. He has been a fleet tech, and been at it for quite a while, would you say?
Yeah.
And myself, I'm a 30-year plus tech. I grew up at Grumps's knee learning about it. I've worked on everything from yachts to equipment, heavy trucks. I've been in the automotive, and I even work on small engines. It doesn't matter. It's got an engine on it. I probably have tinkered with it or worked on it at some point. So, well, how have you been? I know we have both been traveling some. Where did you take off for?
Yeah, I went to Michigan, to upper UP, Upper Peninsula, Traverse City, in that area.
What'd y'all do up there?
Just went riding around, sightseeing.
Fall up there, isn't it? They're changing over.
Mm-hmm. It was cool. Few days, but most of the time it's pretty nice weather. We only had one day that was rain a little bit, but all in all, it's pretty good. It is the cherry capital of the world, and the cherries were in season, and there was lots of good cherry pie.
Well, good deal.
Even though I'm eat low carb normally,
right?
I didn't that week. Had too many cherry pies.
That's all right. We got to enjoy life and occasionally enjoy a few things like that.
Oh, one thing I found out while I was there.
What's that?
A little bit off subject, but they had at the airport, which is a small airport, they had boats on display, watercraft, because Lake Michigan's pretty big. You got room for more than one or two dinghies. But one of the things they had at the airport was a Sea-Doo type jet ski.
Yeah.
Electric. And they've been and they've been putting up charging stations all the way around the lake. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I wonder how that'll work out. It shorts out, and you can go fishing at the same time.
I don't know.
Fish just float to the top.
Like I said, it was. I walked over and looked at the boat. The sea jet ski, and dang, it thing's electric.
Have any information on it, like how long it'll run or anything like that, or did
you? About 3 hours if you work it hard. What that's what they said anyway.
Okay, that's not unreasonable. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, Bride and I, as you probably we took a trip to New York and just did a bunch of sightseeing and didn't actually go up to the Statue of Liberty, but we passed close by it, did a Staten Island ferry tour, and got some good pictures of the old girl, and went and, like I said, sightseed around New York, and we went to a on Broadway show and got to do some stuff like that and all the touristy stuff. Crazy thing is we left on a Saturday and we got back on a Wednesday. And I had to go to Cruising the Coast, Mississippi's biggest car show, and went Got back on Wednesday afternoon, unloaded stuff from one suitcase, packed everything back in one sock, and Thursday morning at 3 a.m., I left for the Mississippi Gulf Coast to go to cruising the coast. And had 4 days of riding all up and down the coast with the old Comet, and been watching the channel for a while. You know, I've been working on that thing hot and heavy for about 3 months straight. And the old car did good. And came back, and we just been kind of kicking around, getting back to work as usual. And wanted to have a sit down. There've been a lot of talk about labor and labor shortages in our industry, in the automotive industry. And just the other day, we had a mishap with April's Lexus. Okay. Don't know what happened or exactly what happened, but the sunroof got blown out of it. She got shattered glass and covered in glass. Fortunately, she wasn't cut. She wasn't injured, didn't get any in her eyes. And we had to have the vehicle taken to the body shop. Well, I knew it was probably going to take some time, but the man told me when I finally got him on the phone that it was going to be a minimum of 2 weeks. Okay. It took him an entire day to call me back. I called them right after they opened. He wasn't available for a phone call. They left him a message, and I called back 2 or 3 more times trying to reach him, and he finally called me back. And part of the problem was they were hiring a new employee. And that's what he had been tied up doing, that, other customers. And if you can't contact your customer back for an entire day, that just doesn't seem right to me. They have you doing too many things. You're stretched too thin. So there is a shortage in the automotive industry. And I think one of our biggest people that have been beating this bandwagon on shortage, and I've been hearing it from him for 5 years, and you know him, Mike Rowe. You've heard Mike Rowe talk about this, and for at least 5 years talking about shortages in the trades, all trades. And he got interviewed by a guy, and I was going to play a quick clip from the not sure what this guy's channel is, but we'll get it going. And let's see, it is Alec Lace, and did a short interview. I think he caught Mike Rowe at a conference and talked with him. So let's see what Mike had to say.
We got a skills gap. It's wide. It's big. We got 7.2 million men who are not participating in the workforce, not looking for work. We got $1.7 trillion in student loans on the books. We got 7.6 million open positions that don't require a 4-year degree. And yet we keep lending money we don't have to kids who are never going to be able to pay it back to train them for jobs that don't exist anymore. If we want to close the skills gap, we got to make a more persuasive case for millions of good jobs that nobody knows about and nobody understands. These are 6-figure jobs or opportunities that lead straight to a 6-figure career. They're everywhere. And if we don't reinvigorate the trades, I'm afraid the president's best efforts to bring manufacturing back to these shores is going to run into a real roadblock. We need an enthused workforce, skilled for the jobs that are out there.
Yeah, well said. As I was telling you, I'm a railroad mechanic. I've been doing that for 25 years. I've been doing side work as an auto mechanic my entire life. I have 4 kids. We own a house. We've been able to live comfortably because of that one skill set of being able to do something mechanically. And
you're not the problem. You should be on a billboard. People should look at your life as an example of what can happen when you master a skill that's in demand and work your ass off. That's still for sale. It's still important. And we have to get in front of that message, and we have to reinvigorate the trades in a way that makes this generation of kids look at careers like the ones you had and go, yeah, damn Skippy, I'd do that.
And these aren't the jobs that are going to be replaced by AI. The plumbers, the electricians, the mechanics, they're not going to be replaced by AI. Yet all these things that people are trading their entire future for, they're all going to be replaced by AI.
You said it. You said it, not me, but something tells me your days working on the railroad could not have been done by a robot.
100%. Mike Rowe, I took up enough of your time. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak.
Thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
There you go. And we discussed somewhat a few of these things, where he talked about not being replaced by AI. And what were your thoughts on that, Gramps?
Well, I don't think you can be able to be physically replaced as far as hands-on, actual taking something off and putting it back on by AI. But I think AI can enhance your ability to diagnose what's wrong with a piece of equipment if it's not obvious. Ivan, from Pine Hollow Auto,
Yes.
he uses AI in some of his to get ideas of areas to look at. But he's got a lot of high skills. He's not just mechanical. He's got a really good diagnostic. But he does look stuff up on the internet, like, and some of it's suggested by AI. So I think AI can enhance the job, but there are certain aspects of mechanical jobs that AI won't be able to actually replace.
Yeah, very true. I mean, robots are good, but they're going to be somewhat limited in what they can actually access on the vehicle and do. And like you said, and I know that I have used Google AI search where I'm looking up check engine lights and codes, get the code out of it, and you're looking for the most common problem, and that's what you're going to go check first. When you're using an AI search, you're searching the entire internet and what that has become today and what it means today. It's every available source, and no, not every return you get back from that search is going to be accurate. And you can kind of skim through it and read and go, no, that's not what I'm looking for. But I have actually used an AI search to try to get to the bottom of a common problem on a vehicle. And it does give you some good information. And real quick, the old car guys came in here and visited with us and has left us a comment. He said, howdy, gents. He said that they preach this on their podcast all the time. And old car guy is out of Canada. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his stuff. You ever watch any old car guy stuff, Gramps?
Yeah, I've seen. I've watched it.
He looks like a shady used car dealer to me.
Yeah.
Just kidding, buddy. Just kidding. But got another clip. What kind of kicked all this off was the Ford CEO. I don't know, it's been about a week or two now that he came out and started talking. This is a clip, I think, further back than that, but it's not the clip that really got everybody all stirred up. But it's another clip where he's talking about being unable to get workers in the factories. So let's go in here and take a quick look at this one. Oh, I need to put it on the screen, don't I? It would be good. There we go. Whoop. And play.
During the union negotiation, I did a lot of gemba, just going to our plants and listening. And the older workers who'd been at the company said, none of the young people want to work here, Jim. You pay $17 an hour. And they are so stressed. They got to work at Amazon.
Remember that number,
hours,
17 an hour.
They come over to Ford for work for 7 hours. And then they sleep for 3 or 4 hours. And then they go back and they're barely getting by. So we took every temporary worker and made them full time. It wasn't easy to do. It was expensive. But I think that's the kind of changes we need to make in our country. During the union.
Now, you notice how he said paying workers $17 an hour in 2025. That to me is, as I'm not going to say, yeah, I am going to say it. It's ridiculous. That's a ridiculously low amount of money for a skilled worker assembling a vehicle, using your body to put to put cars together with as much money as they make. Now, what are your thoughts on that, Gramps? Because we talked earlier, and I've got some points I'm going to bring up on that $17 an hour.
Well, this is not taken away from anybody's job. I mean, stuff that you do if you're on your feet all day, or using your hands all day, or a combination of the two, it's hard,
Yes.
But while we were gone, and there were places in Michigan that I saw signs that said they had servers. They were looking for servers for restaurants, and they were paying $18 an hour.
Right.
So a mechanic, it's not to take away from the servers, but mechanics have to do a whole lot of supplying of their own tools and, the knowledge, and I have no idea what servers have to provide for themselves to do the job. But anyway, it just seemed, I guess I'm biased towards mechanics because I have been one for so long. I know how bad they can get done over.
Yes. And I think what he was actually talking about there was a plant worker assembling vehicles, not necessarily a mechanic. But I mean, what I was going to relay is that the $17 an hour, I started at $17 an hour on flat rate as a flat rate tech in 1998. Okay. And if you, depending on what source you use and which report you read, $17 an hour in 1998, $99 year money is closer to $33 to $35 an hour today. Okay. So $17 an hour is nothing, really. Not in the whole scheme, not with the factoring in inflation and all the other stuff that you have to factor in, which is, I think, inflation rate 2.8% a year or something like that, right at 3%. So, but let's see what let's move on, and we'll see what Mr. Jim said about mechanics, talking about mechanics in his shops across the country. Let's get this going.
Union negotiation, I did a lot of Gemba, just going to our plant.
Try that again.
I woke up. There were 6,000 bays in our dealerships with no technician. So can't get my car fixed. Nope. 2 weeks. Average wait is 2 weeks. Not because we don't have the parts. We don't have the mechanics. Factory workers, construction workers, farmers, all the people that move things, truck drivers, rail workers, and people fix things, plumbers, electricians, HVAC, all the people that basically work with their hands.
Why is there a shortage of these workers?
Well, it's a complicated problem, but there is, let's put it that way, literally 1 million openings right now. Technicians and dealerships working on cars. At Ford, we have 6,000, probably 400,000 repair technician shortages across the economy. First of all, the productivity has not caught up with the white collar. In fact, it's gone down over the last 20 years. Number two, the jobs aren't as glamorous as a white collar job from college. And I think the permitting and all the regulations has really stunted the growth of these kind of jobs. This morning, when I woke up, there were 6,000 bays in our.
So, what's the one thing that he did not necessarily discuss as being part of the problem? And this is a short clip, and he may have, and they just may not have included it in that clip. But what did you notice that he didn't talk about?
Money, and benefits, and the whole thing that you need get by.
The whole thing, you need to secure employees and long-term employees.
Right.
Well, we talk about, the Bible talks about the root of all evil is money, and I think it's actually
Love.
it's
Love
the
of money.
love. Yes, that's where I was going with that. It's the love of money, but you still got to eat. It's still important to be able to eat and raise a family and do all that stuff. And they just don't. Nobody ever wants to talk about the money. So I want to make sure I hadn't missed out anybody in the chat. Make sure nobody's. Yeah, old car guy's still with us. He apparently liked my joke about the shady car salesman. He gets grief about that on his channel, about being a shady, greasy car salesman, used car salesman. And he's nothing but honest with folks, so I don't know what their problem is. So let's see where we're at. We got a little list of show notes that we're trying to keep this thing rolling on. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I while doing the little research and reading on Jim Farley, his real name's James Duncan Farley Jr. He's a Gemini like me. He's born June the 10th, but in 1962, so he's about 7 years older than me. Did not realize this until I saw a little blurb on him, and that he is actually related to Chris Farley. And if those of you if you don't know who Chris Farley is, he was a comedian and got his start on Saturday Night Live and a storied actor. And but he is related to Chris Farley, and his career in automobiles, it says, was inspired by his grandfather, who began work at Henry Ford's River Rouge plant in 1918. And you said that his grandfather was employee what?
329.
329. So Chris Farley, the actor, and Jim Farley are related, and they have a storied history that goes back with the Ford Motor Company for a long, long ways. Yeah. Hater gonna hate. That's right. That's right. So let's see. I'm supposed to be looking at my show notes to see where we were. Oh, he talked about earlier where he said that that young folks do not want to come to work don't want to work for them. Well, and when you're paying that little amount of money, that's part of the problem. And second is and this is just me, and it's my son. He came to me, we were trying to figure out what he was going to do when he grew up and where he was going to be and all that. And I told him, I said, get you a job, go to somewhere, put your nose to the grindstone, stick with it, yada, yada. And he just kind of looked at me. He said, I don't want what you had. And I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, I made a good living and raised my family. He said, yeah. But after about 19 or 20 years, guess what? They decided they didn't need you anymore and kicked you to the curb and left you to start over. And I was like, well, kid's got a point. I get it. I made a good living, did my knocks and got my experience. And that is what enabled me to go out and start over. And when I started over, I didn't start at the bottom. I started at the top. I didn't have to walk in the door with my hat in my hand. And, I walked in with the training and experience and all that stuff. And I ended up, able to command top dollar in the job that I took. So, and I think somebody else in this room tried to dissuade me from becoming a mechanic.
Absolutely. I did.
You did.
It didn't work, but anyway.
No, it didn't. But it's always been able to provide food for my table, and it provided food for your table. And, here we are on YouTube still talking about it. 35 years later, it's still putting food on the table.
Yeah.
So, and by all accounts, we should be the ones who are revered. I had a guy back years ago, and I never understood what he was saying. It was when I first took on at Freightliner. He said, one day, he said, and that's not today, and this was 30 years ago. He said, we will be some of the most important people in this country. They will be begging for us. And it turns out he is 100% correct. One of the other problems, and I didn't get any clips to really talk about the flat rate system. I didn't think I needed to, because we can discuss it. I think most anybody that's watches our stuff kind of understands the flat rate system. Why don't you go ahead and start us out on this little segue of talking about flat rate and how technicians get paid, because it's part of the problem. Let's go ahead and start with you. What year did you start on flat rate, and how much were you making an hour? And just run us through that real quick.
1972, and the shop rate, what the dealership, I worked in a lot of dealerships. I did have some later in life, but in my first starting out, I worked in several dealerships. I was young. Somebody would say something I didn't like, and they'd go to another dealership, which is not unusual, I think. Anyway.
Not for a young man. Young man, get his butt on his shoulders. He'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, I did that for a number of years. I did that. And anyway, the shop rate for the dealerships charged at that time was $18 an hour. And the mechanics at the time got 60% of that $18. And as time went on, they got 50%. And less and less and less. When I left working on commission, I think it was like 37% for the mechanic, and it's 63% for the dealer. It had reversed,
Do you remember what the shop rate was at that time?
No, not really. It went up some, but I mean, it wasn't outrageous. It wasn't like it is today. It was probably still less than $50 an hour.
Right.
So, but it's a lot less than it is today. What is it today? 200, 250 an hour?
Depending on where you're getting your vehicle worked at, it's the average dealer, Toyota, Chevrolet, Ford, it's approaching, if not at $200 an hour to get your vehicle worked on, somewhere in that range.
And I've heard them say that since we started looking this up, that some places give the mechanic as little as 10% of that flat rate on a flat rate, 10% of that number. So they're making $20 an hour. And if there's $200 an hour, they're getting 10%. They're making $20 an hour, and the dealer's getting the rest of it. Some people said that a more fair wage would be like a quarter for the mechanic, a quarter for the dealership, and a quarter for the owner of the dealership. So.
And then what's the other quarter? Because that's only 3/4.
Yeah.
And
it's just operations.
Yeah. Maintenance, new technologies that you have to buy, that the shop has to buy. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that actually makes really good sense. Let's see. Yeah. Old car guy says flat rate had a tendency to create greedy, dishonest techs that made both of them and the dealerships rich.
It could work that way.
It can, and I know Gramps has known some shady mechanics over the years. He not being one of them, and neither was I. I worked and under the flat rate, and I'll just run my little story down real quick, and then we can get into some of the quote horror stories of flat rate. And when I started out, I started out as a mechanic. I worked on yachts, and that was an hourly. We got, you work an hour, you paid an hour. We're straight hourly. And then I went and worked on some equipment, same thing, hourly rate. For every hour you worked, you got paid. And then I took an apprenticeship. The Freightliner dealer was looking for technicians, and they offered an apprenticeship program, and they started us off, and this was in, I think, 97 or so, 98, somewhere in that range. And they started us off, and they set us in a classroom. We weren't fixing or making them any money. And they started us off pretty low. I mean, it was $12 an hour, but they paid you every hour you were there. And we first little while we were all in classroom, and then we went for a few months doing that. And then we went to where we worked with a tech on the floor, and they kept us at that $12 an hour. And once, I think it was I think it was about a 6-month program. And when they put us out on the floor, they bumped our pay up. I can't remember the dollar amount. I remember what it was when they moved us to flat rate, but they bumped our dollar amount up per hour, and we're still paying us hourly as we learned and we're training on the floor. And when they finally cut us loose on flat rate, they bumped our pay up. And this was in, like I said, 98, 99, something like that. We were making 17 something an hour, 17 and some change. And what the other thing that they did, and this Freightliner and the company I worked for was actually was pretty decent to you. They gave you a 40-hour bank to start with. And what that meant is if that you did not flag your hours for the pay period, you could draw from that bank, and that would supplement your check so that you weren't coming up short. But once that bank was gone, you were done. They didn't put any money back in it, didn't put any hours back in it. The only thing I didn't like about it is if you'd had a bumper crop week, they wouldn't allow you to put time back. I always felt like that if you had a really great week, that you should be able to say, yeah, take 5 hours or have so many hours and put in that bank, so that when you came up and you were going to come up short, you could take and grab that and take it with you and go and put it with your check. But they didn't allow that. But still, giving somebody 40 hours to until they get up to speed on the flat rate system, that's pretty good. That was one of the better scenarios. But there were weeks and days and times where, particularly on a Sunday, because we worked 4 on 4 off, so we would rotate through and have to work on a Sunday. You might be in the shop 6 hours before a job came in, and nobody's making any money. We didn't make a dime if we weren't turning wrenches. So, but yes, Jason, we were going to talk about shady mechanics, and I know what was some of the shady stuff you saw done over the years.
It's just, it's always easy to shortcut. Any job can be shortcut, So it's sell people stuff they really didn't need and stuff like that,
Yes.
It's not right. I never did it, and, but I knew some. I was at a couple places where it was kind of like the manager and the service writer and all that was in on it. And when I saw that, I left, because I just didn't want to be associated with that at all.
Yeah.
I had a couple of jobs that I saw what was going on. So I'm not going to be here. If the person brings a car to me, I'm going to tell them the best of my ability what's wrong with it, and try to the best of my ability fix it.
Right.
And not lie to them about it. I just couldn't do that. And it worked out okay because I had a loyal customer base because I worked at a Toyota dealership for, as 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And in that time, I got repeat customers, and that's what kept me, afloat mostly, was having a loyal customer base.
Yeah, well, I can remember a story that you related to me, years and years ago. You had left the Toyota dealership and had gone out and started your own shop, and you had one of your loyal customers had come in there and was wanting you to work on their car, and she had a newer car that was still under warranty, and they told her that you had left and started your own shop. She was like, "Well, where is it?" So she came to see you. You looked at her car and you told her, "It's like, no, ma'am, you can get this fixed under warranty." She said, "No, I don't care. Fix my car." She wanted you to fix it because she wanted you to fix her car. Even though she could have got it fixed for free on a warranty, she didn't care. And she paid you to go ahead and fix her car.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that story or not. You probably do.
Yeah, I do.
Very nice lady. But
Yeah, like I said, I had some loyal customers. It's because I treated them right.
Yeah.
And I'd say the majority of the mechanics, well, the ones that I knew, I don't know about today as far as what goes on in the shops, but the majority of the mechanics when I was working were honest people,
Yeah.
There were a few that was shady, but
right. Well, you said something a minute ago that can be triggering to some folks that don't understand, and there's not always something wrong with it. It's called the shortcut.
Yeah.
There are legitimate shortcuts. If you've done a job 9,000 times and you've learned the fast way to do it, it can be done legitimately without compromising the job by taking that shortcut. And I think people get the wrong idea when they hear the word, well, I got a shortcut.
Yeah.
All that means is that you're trying to make more money.
Well, a shortcut could be something like you do a job repetitively over and over and over. Well, when you get that job in, you know what to put it up on the lift. You know what tools to go and grab, and you don't have to stand there and, well, do I need this? You just grab a handful of tools and get the job done, get them out.
Well, that's like me now. I'm working on a totally different, I'm not going to go into what I work on now, but I'm working on a totally different animal. And I just passed 2 years working there, and I've gotten to where finally a certain job comes in. I know exactly what tools to go grab. I don't have to, what do we need? I just go to my toolbox, start grabbing tools and go to the vehicle and start working on it. I don't have to guess or have to ask anybody anymore. There's still some things that I'm kind of not familiar with, but I have, in 2 years, I know there's a lot of stuff that I can shortcut because I know exactly what tools, I know where to go in the parts room. I know what parts we're going to need, So yes, some of that could be considered a shortcut because you now understand and know what's going on. So we've talked about that. And this kind of sort of relates. I was going to go ahead and segue into the recalls of today. My goodness. One of the things that me and you have talked about in a lot of our lives over the last year or so that we've done these is the number of stinking recalls that have come down the pike. Every day you turn on the TV, this is recalled, that's recalled, your refrigerators, a ceiling fan, what you name it, it's got a recall. What do you think, Gramps?
I think they need to improve their manufacturing process.
Quality control.
Yeah.
It comes down to longevity. Old car guy mentioned, he said extra parts to pad the flat rate. Yeah, people, selling parts that they really don't need. And my brother-in-law, and God rest his soul, he's no longer with us, but he would do that. He would order up new parts that and say he put them on and they ended up in his toolbox. I've got them. They're out here in the shop. I ended up with his toolbox. So yeah, I well know. So who is, do you happen to know who the number one recall company is right now in the automotive industry?
Probably Ford.
Ding, 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 ding. Let's give that man a cigar. Let's go ahead and we'll switch over here and we'll watch this little quick short. And
Ford just set a record that absolutely nobody wanted, especially them. It is absolutely no secret Ford is the recall king. They have been for years, and it's really starting to wear on them. We're not even talking about one that happened today or yesterday. This happened 18 days ago, but it leads to a really interesting point. The recall itself affects just shy of 700,000 vehicles, and it has to do with the fuel injectors that could fail, leak, and cause a fire. The expected cost to Ford for this is about $570 million. See, I'm filming this in early August. This happened in mid-July. And in mid-July, they broke the record for total amount of recalls in a single year with 90 plus of them. In July, it's only halfway through the year. Not only that, but this latest one of 700,000 vehicles came just a week after a fuel pump issue recall on 850,000 vehicles. If you're wondering what the previous record for recalls was, it was by GM back in 2014 with only 77. And despite all of this, Ford is actually selling a metric ton of cars because in Q2 of this year, they gained 14.2% market share over 600,000 vehicles, even with all of this going on. So what does this tell us? Well, two things. One, customers just either don't know or don't care about Ford's recalls because they're still buying them up like hotcakes. And two, recalls don't tell the entire story of an automaker. If you still believe in Ford and want to buy them, you can, because guess what? Recalls are free. So if you have them, you can always just take them to the dealer and get them done. Either way, it seems like these recalls really aren't going to be slowing Ford down anytime soon.
the only problem I see with his statement right there is take them to the dealer and get them repaired if you can have technicians to repair them. Because you heard what Jim Farley said. You're looking at a minimum of 2 weeks. Minimum of 2 weeks to get your vehicle worked on. Well, if I'm having to worry about my vehicle catching fire and burning to the ground, I'm not going to want to drive it. I'm going to take it to the dealer and say, you keep it until you get it fixed. Although a no drive order has not been ordered for this recall that I know of, still, go ahead.
I just gonna say you hear about a recall and then you'd hear, oh, by the way, don't park it in your garage. Don't park it inside. Park it out on the street.
Right. Don't park it near any structure. Don't park it near any structure. Don't park it inside your. And what was that on the GM? They were having problems with their batteries. Was it GM? And it said, don't charge the vehicle unattended and don't charge it inside your garage. Was that the one?
I don't recall, Brian.
That's been way back. We talked about that, but I'm pretty sure it was GM. Jason, the old car guy, he said, and if you can get the parts. Which, according to Jim Farley, they're not having a parts supplier problems like we did back when the Big C was going on. But I know we have problems getting parts.
Here's my thought on the parts. I heard an interview, and he was asked about making the parts here in the U.S.
Yes.
And he said it was too expensive to do that. Well, my thought is, ain't these dang recalls kind of expensive if you're getting faulty parts? Who's making them for you? I hope you're holding them responsible, because if you had quality parts, you might not have so many recalls.
And that's a fact. You would not have as many recalls. I have seen. We do occasionally have problems getting parts. And here lately, it's mostly on some of the older stuff that they're not making as many parts for anymore. And some of the stuff that is kind of it's fading away and going out the door, and they're just discontinuing stuff. Some of the older 7.3 international stuff, it's getting harder and harder to get parts for. It's actually easier. You can't get an individual part, but if you have something fail on one of those older 7.3s, it's actually easier to get a reman engine and just put a whole reman engine in instead of being able to fix the one you got. Because you know,
Well,
somebody can get parts, but we can't.
I heard Ivan on Project Pine Hollow.
Right.
He's working on a Lincoln, some kind of fancy Lincoln, and he needed a BCM, and he tried to get one from the dealer, and they said no, we can't get them. Ford, the dealer told him that Ford doesn't manufacture any of them modules like that, the BCM and all those. They're for anything over 7 years old. They don't have to manufacture. It used to be 10.
Right.
Now it's 7. If it's over 7 years old, you know, you got a brick. I mean, you know.
Right. Well, some of this body control, we're talking about the controls HVAC, body control modules, controls seats, controls windows, control.
Right.
Well, if you can't get a good BCM, you just what you said, you're driving a brick.
Well, he tried. He said, "Well, what about if I get a used one with a dealer program it?" And the guy said, "We have had zero luck programming a BCM used one."
Yeah, trying to reflash it to where it'll communicate with the vehicle's other computers. Yeah.
So some of these cars that's not that old, it's gonna be, it's gonna be in the junkyard.
Right. You know, we had traded a 2015, which would have been a 10-year-old vehicle back a few years ago, traded a 2015 RAV4 for the 21 Highlander. A 10-year-old vehicle that's now a brick. Well, I mean, the days of a vehicle lasting 20 and 25 years, I think has slipped away.
Well, you think about how many systems are like a computer.
Right.
The things that are all run inside the car. Actually, just by a computer, and
everything having its own module and everything's talking on a CAN bus now, and everything's got its own little module. So,
yeah, he showed that car. I think the car had 35 modules or something. When we did the screen, reading the modules.
Yeah.
For codes, I think it had like 35 modules. Jesus, Yeah. Used to be you had a switch, you could turn the headlights on, turn the blinkers on, and you go,
Right. And anymore, if the body module craps out, because we have a lot of that on some of the stuff I work on. I'll just go ahead and tell you what I work on. I ain't going to tell you where I work, but I'll tell you what I work on. I work on school buses. And the Bluebird, oh my word, everything is on a body control module now. Everything. Like we just said, the headlights, all the 8-way flashers, everything is on a body control module. And if that thing craps out, nothing works. Let's see. Jason left us a comment earlier, and I didn't get to it. I wanted to read it. It says it's all about the dollar. Build it cheaper and charge more and hope for the best. Correct. Ding, 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 ding. If I could send you a cigar, I would, Jason. The cheap crap we see on some of these modules, we'll do all the diagnostics, and you'll stand on your head and you'll test this, test that, and you can't come up with a definitive answer as to why it's not working. The only saving grace I can say is some of these modules on these buses, they're not bus specific. So you can go to another bus and quickly take a module out and plug it in and see if your problem goes away. That is the only saving grace at this point with those modules. And you used to could do that in some of the earlier stuff, but now you are not, like you said, they are not able to take and reprogram a module to work a used module to work in another vehicle. So I don't know what we're going to do. And that helps us segue. Let's finish up here on the recall stuff. I got this graphic that I pulled from the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, and we'll take a look at that. It's what is this? Transportation.gov pulled this information. So it's a government information website. You know it's got to be accurate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's probably somewhat accurate. I mean, it gives you a good overview, whether it's 100% accurate. And I didn't want to do all the drill down on everything, but you can go look at this website and see Ford Motor Company has 100 right now, showing 127 recalls. This graphic, it says the default visuals depicted here represent only the top 12 manufacturers of the current calendar years and for the current calendar year. So this is the top 12, and Ford is far and away heads above everybody else. It says they have 127 recalls year to date. Now, like I said, I don't know the accuracy of that, but regardless, they've got a lot. And coming in second would be Chrysler, and followed by Forest River. And if you don't know Forest River, they're a RV and RV people. Yep. And then closely followed by General Motors and Volkswagen. And who just barely did not make this list, I think coming in 13th with 11 recalls. The lowest on this is 12. On this list was Mack Trucks with 12 recalls. Toyota came in right behind them with 11. So, and we talked about this, you and I talked about this earlier. What two companies have the least number of recalls?
Mazda.
That's one.
And
what,
I don't remember that.
You don't remember what I said the other one was?
Uh-uh.
Believe it or not, drum roll, please. Porsche. Oop, thought I had removed that from the graphic from the screen. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, Porsche. And well, as much as you pay for a Porsche, I would hope that they didn't have a bunch of recalls. And it seems like the Porsches that they're a little more hands-on when they build those cars. It seems like there's less automation in the building a Porsche, but I don't know that. It just seemed like that in a few things I've seen over the years talking about Porsche. I thought this would be kind of fun. Had seen this the other day, and it says asking mechanics, old cars or new cars. So let me share this, and we'll get in here and
Radio silence. Anything supposed to be playing? Ain't nothing happening.
thank you, Auto Fair. But what do you say, Gramps? Old car or new cars?
Were you trying to play
Tell me that didn't come up on screen.
I was telling you, I can't hear you. There ain't nothing there. So,
well, isn't that special? And that's a fail on my part.
Blame technical glitch.
Yeah, it's called the soft material between my ears. Let's bring that up and we'll play that. There we go. What do you know about that?
Think you're gonna do it this time?
Put it on screen.
Asking mechanics, old cars or new cars?
Jeff, old cars or new cars?
Old cars.
Jake, old cars or new cars? Sean, old cars or new cars? Miguel, old cars or new cars?
Old ones.
Matt, old cars or new cars?
No cars. Motorcycles.
Cody, old cars or new cars?
Old cars.
Nolan, old cars or new cars?
Old cars.
Asking mechanics.
Well, there we go. So what say you, Gramps?
I like the old cars just for the simplicity part of it, but I'm gonna tell you that comfort wise, there's no comparison. The new ones are 8 light years ahead of the old ones, but the old ones, as far as taking care of them, working on them, keeping them going, I prefer that. So you could put that toy, if you didn't know it, but put that Camry body on that Mercury frame. If it had a frame,
Yeah.
it would it'd be a pretty neat ride. Because like I said, I tell your mother the other day, I said, I like the simplicity of the old cars. I said, but the quietness, we were riding in that Nissan, and I said the difference in what you hear and feel is light years,
Okay. Yeah. And I'll play devil's advocate. The safety and crash testing.
Yeah.
To today's vehicles, there's absolutely no comparison to an old vehicle. I get that, but as far as reliability and ease of maintenance, and repair, the old cars.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy is if you take a old car to some of these new guys that are working on this stuff with a carburetor, a set of points, and condenser,
Yeah,
they don't know what they're doing.
they don't want to look at it.
They don't want to even tell you what color it is because they can't work on it. They don't understand it. So I grew up with a foot in both ends of that spectrum. I came up just as we were really getting into computers. I was starting to work on cars.
Yeah.
But I had a foot in both sides of this. So, and where we are now and being able to work on this stuff, it's sometimes it'll have you running around and scratching your head. But you got to really understand the basics to go back and understand the basics of how a car works to be able to relate it to understand what's the computer trying to do, what the computer's trying to tell me, because mechanically, the mechanics part of it is not much different.
Right.
It's just how it's controlled.
Yeah. And all the years that I worked on cars would transition from points to my control modules and computers and yada, yada, yada. I had 2 that I could say the computer was bad because I took it apart and looked at it, and the green board was burned.
Probably in a Ford.
It was in a Ford. Both of them in a Ford vans, matter of fact.
Blown capacitor on the board, probably.
Yeah, one of them was, and the other one was something happened and it just burnt a big nasty spot on the green board. But put a used one in it, and I don't know if they're still going or not, but it's fixing for a while, I know.
Oh yeah, some of those old Fords were 400,000 and 500,000 mile vans with the straight 6-cylinder. Just keep the oil changed in them, and they keep on running. But
a lot of after watching people like South Main and Pine Hollow,
yeah,
Ivan and what's his name,
Erico,
yeah,
Boca, New York.
Yeah, seeing most of the time, if you looked at them, most of the time their problems are wiring or corrosion or grounds or something. It's not
right.
it's oftentimes not modules. So
Yeah, those are salt belt guys.
right. So computer wise, most of the cars are reliable, you know, as far as what computers get brain with a lot of stuff that they didn't do, you know, it wasn't a computer.
No, it's a compromised connection. It's a bad ground or right. Exactly.
And then I figured that out. Didn't take me long to figure out when they first came out. Not to blame them, you know. Just don't jump in there on, well, it's a computer. No, chances are it's not. You know.
Right. You better figure out how to test them and make sure that they're getting all the inputs that they're supposed to have, because if they're not getting all the inputs they're supposed to have, they're not going to send the outputs that they're supposed to give.
Right.
All right, let's take a quick look at this. One of these other clips I had. Get it rolling.
Hey, are newer cars harder to fix than older cars? Love this question. Yes, newer cars are pretty much arguably harder to work on. However, though, right, some of those older vehicles, especially some of the like carbureted vehicles, that's a trade, that's a skill that's starting to get lost. So some people aren't as aware of how to work on those types of vehicles. Your average vehicle is made between 30 and 40,000 parts. 30 to 40,000 opportunities for your car to fail. Older vehicles used to be closer to 10 to 15,000 worth of parts. And so, yeah, it's definitely a little bit more complicated. Hey, our newer.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I've heard that before, that there's 30 to 40,000 parts in a new vehicle. And like he said, it's 30 to 40,000 opportunities for your vehicle to fail and 10 to 15 in an old one.
Yeah.
So, and like you heard what he said, working on a carburetor and the ignition systems and stuff, it's a whole skill set. And it's becoming a lost art.
Yeah.
How many times has Gavin called you to ask you on questions about an old car?
A few times.
But he got through it. He's learning it. So
yeah. That's good that he's, you know, that he's learning how to take care of that.
All right. And we'll see. Let's put this clip. Let's get this clip ready to go for us. And let me get over here and put it up on screen. There we go. And this asks the age-old question, which car, what are good, what are bad? Or I don't know if this one actually goes into what's bad, but it talks about what's good. And I was actually surprised by what some of these mechanics said on one of them.
What are the good cars? What are the bad cars? So what would you guys buy?
I'm a Toyota. Lexus, Toyota, good. Yeah. Honda still makes some decent ones. Kia and Honda have gotten up there.
I used to call it killed in action for Kia, and now it's like a legit brand.
Yeah, I mean the Telluride and the Palisade are beautiful SUVs. The Telluride's even got the autopilot where it's like a Tesla. They had some issues, Kia did, with their 2.4 motors in the Optimas with just sporadic lockup. You know,
but they were really good about it though. They no questions asked replace the motor.
Recall, like massive recall, just straight replacing motors. Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, try and go Asian.
Yeah. They're pretty consistently reliable throughout the years. But like, you know, we were saying no Mopar. Well, that's more recent. But like a 96 Grand Cherokee with a 4-liter straight six, that's like one of the most unkillable, best vehicles that's ever been made ever.
What are the good?
All right. And you know, maybe Kia, Hyundai, or maybe they're correcting their problems. I don't know. But he is 100% correct in what he said there. Is they did do a massive campaign where they were no questions asked. They pulled the vehicles in and they put those folks new motors in. I do know that because I heard a lot of texts through years talking about it in the videos. They talked about having piles and piles of motors out back that they were piling up to send out for to scrap.
Yeah, you know, Yeah, I've seen on forums that the Kias, people talking about the Kias and the Hyundais, they talk about them better than they did in the past. You know.
Well, and I think this is a problem for all manufacturers, and it comes back down to the CAFE. For the CAFE standards, the corporate average fuel economy,
Mm-hmm.
how the EPA will give credits to corporations who will recommend that they do the 10,000-mile oil changes.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and I, to be honest, I really think that people changing their oil at 10,000 miles has hurt Toyota in particular, but I think all manufacturers, anybody who's waiting 10,000 miles or doing it once a year to change their oil is going to hurt the reliability of their vehicle in the long
Yep.
run.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Gramps, we have been at this for an hour. What does that say? Can't read that.
6 minutes.
An hour and 6 minutes. I think we can get ready to close this thing out. And you got any burning desires or last thoughts on the labor topic?
No, just it needs improvement. It's been needing to be improved for a long time. Whether they'll ever get there, I don't know.
Yep, I agree with what Mike Rose said. We've got to invigorate these younger generation to actually get in there and get their hands dirty and realize that if they can get this skill and go anywhere, they can write their own ticket. And these are $100,000 a year jobs. You just need.
I was gonna say that you might not even necessarily have to get your hands dirty anymore. If some kid was really a techie kid on a computer that really knew how to, diagnose how to repair a computer, those technical guys, they could do okay with an automobile, because a lot of them it's a lot of the stuff is you need to understand how to interpret what you're looking at.
Yes, you do. You need to know what the computer's trying to tell you. And there are some other tools that have come down the pike that have come back into vogue to use, and that's oscilloscopes and different stuff like that. And if you can learn how to use them and learn how to interpret what they're telling you, you can become very fast and very efficient at repairing these vehicles with these computers. And that's where I think you're right. The focus needs to be. So,
yeah.
Well, Gramps, I appreciate you. Go ahead.
I'm going to say, and don't jump on it and misdiagnose a computer. It's most likely something else,
Correct. So, well, Gramps, I appreciate you coming in here with me today and hanging out. And I think we're going to try to slide on out of here. So,
all right.
Let's see what happens when I push this button, if it still works. Apparently not. Nope, it didn't work. Don't know why, but that's okay. Till next time, we'll see you guys.
All right.